Hello, I'm Jamie.
Hello, I'm Mark, and it's time for another episode of Through the Garden Gate. I am very tired and very snotty, so we'll see how we get through this evening. If this hat slips down in front of my face, you might have to give me a poke just to wake me up. Let's get Jamie in. That was easy.
Straight in, boom, like that. Yeah.
Not like anymore.
Had a hell of a couple of days.
Just a bit
Basically.
stressful.
Oh, poor little bugger.
Yep, not good. Very scary.
I bet. He's home now. Wrapped up. I saw earlier, wrapped up with a blanket.
He's home, he's in the bath. He's going to bed early, try and catch up on some more sleep after not getting that much last night in the hospital because it was so loud. He was sharing a ward with a crying baby most of the night, so yeah, not very good.
Poor little bugger.
So he had his ear defenders on the whole night, trying to get some sleep.
When you put your story out about him being so loud, I was going to message you and say, "Where's his ear defenders?" Because I've seen him wear them several times before, and all of a sudden the next one come up. Well, there they are.
So when we were here with the ambulance staff, and he said, we'll be taking you in. You best get some stuff together. It was one of the first things I grabbed. I was like, ear defenders. Gonna need them.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah. Oh dear, poor little bugger.
So yeah, he's much better.
So, what they're going to do some tests and find out? Are they find out why?
Yeah, at some point he'll need an MRI so that they can see whether there's any signs in his brain to see what went on. But it could just be a one-off. It could have been. I mean, he has got a cold, so they're thinking that it's probably that caused it. But they want to be safe because he could have had a really high temperature, and then by the time the ambulance got here, it was 38, so it wasn't as high. But if it was, 39, 40, that is quite a lot. So it could have been
really high.
So. But yeah, all the tests that they did at the hospital all came back fine. So they let us go, and we've just got to wait for an appointment for the MRI because I guess they'll have to put him to sleep to do that because little people don't stay still for an hour or whatever it is.
No, they won't they?
So yeah.
Am I all blocking? Because I'm on 1 bar of 4G. My Wi-Fi's not working for some reason.
No, I can hear you.
Oh.
You're all right. Yeah.
That's fine. I'll leave it be then.
Yeah, thanks everyone for the nice messages. There was lots of them, lots and lots and lots and lots of messages. I struggled to keep up with them all, but it was, getting me through. Oh, you've gone.
Hello. Can you hear me, Mark?
I can hear you now, yeah.
Oh,
You went.
yeah. It's also all disappeared and went off funny. Wi-Fi's back on now. Right. We're there.
Yeah, so lots of nice messages. I don't know why, but that story that I put out yesterday was viewed by nearly 3,000 people, whereas my usual stories only get seen by about 500 people for some reason. It just skyrocketed. So yeah, I think everyone on Instagram saw that George wasn't very well. So I've had hundreds of messages from people, well wishers and everything.
Yeah, nice.
But yeah.
Poor little bugger.
Yeah, not what you want on a day morning.
No, I bet. I bet. No. You going back to work tomorrow?
I'm not sure. I might have tomorrow off just to be.
Yeah,
Otherwise,
definitely. I
I'll
don't
just be
blame you.
wandering around the place going, "What am I supposed to do? Why am I
Yeah, yeah,
in a trance?"
totally understandable. Yeah.
What have you been up to this week? Have you done any gardening?
No. You know
No.
what did you mean? What did you mean when I put my hands? I put a picture of my hands on earlier, saying basically you can see. Look at those nails. Those
There's no
nails
there's no
never
in-ground dirt.
ever been that clean. Not for the last 4 or 5 years. And you said, yes, you have. I might have walked through the garden. I ain't actually done any gardening. I can't believe they're absolutely spotless. It's just crazy. Never seen. I noticed them last night. I went, oh my God, look at them.
There's no brown marks.
No, there's nothing. No, I haven't. I haven't done anything. Obviously, I've sorted seeds. I've been doing that. Um, about it. I want to get my my micro tomatoes sown this next couple of days. Hopefully, they can just stay inside on a windowsill. And
I've
I'm
got a few German.
now deciding on what chilies and peppers I want. So, got a few, but I haven't got that many. I thought I was going to have a lot more chilies, but I ain't got that many seeds, to be honest. So,
I could
unless I've got
only
another
find one
tin or a box
variety.
kicking around somewhere that I've forgot about.
Yeah, I thought I had more, but when I went to sow some the other day, I only had one variety.
Yeah, I've only got about 3 or 4 different ones.
Well, where have all those gone? Apparently,
I don't think.
you should soak chili seeds in chamomile tea, and it helps break the layer around the outside of them because they
I
do take a
saw they
while.
take
Right?
21 to 25 days or something, didn't they? Some of
Yeah,
them.
even then, it's erratic.
Yeah, I saw Angie do that a couple of weeks back. I think what
Yeah,
I might soak some and not soak some and just see if there is a big difference.
an experiment.
But they've all got that coating on. Most seeds have got a coating on it to stop them germinating instantly. What do they call it? What is that coating called?
There's probably a proper name.
There is a proper name. I bet I've
I
guessed.
think what it is.
I know what it is.
Probably.
Yeah,
There's
but it's
definitely
basically it's when the
conditions.
seed drops in the wild, it will it will sit and wait, and that coating will break down throughout the winter, and then when the coatings broke down in the spring, it's nice and warm and wet. That will start going. That will germinate.
Unless it's a weed, then it'll just germinate the second it touches the ground.
Yeah, it's already sprouting leaves as it's
Yeah,
floating down to the floor.
root We're here.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I ain't really done a great deal. Still bored.
That's another week down. Another week down to being mobile again.
It is. Yeah, it is. Yeah, there's nothing to report really. Don't feel like I've got any change from last week. It's not. I'm not doing anything differently. I'm not running marathons or anything. I'm still doing my walk. Still, same as.
You had a walk on your own with the
Had a walk on my own. That was
dogs.
a bit weird, to be honest. It was really strange. I felt a bit. I don't know whether I should be doing this just in case type thing. But obviously, I was all right.
From the dogs decided to chase after something or anything.
Well, I don't know. I thought, if I get halfway around and I collapse and fall in a ditch or something. Think of these weird things, but obviously
Playing tricks
I
with
didn't. Yeah, yeah,
you.
definitely
You made it.
made it all around. In really good time, to be honest.
It's
11
funny how
minutes 40 per kilometre. I don't think that was too bad. That's quite a stomp on, I thought.
it's interesting to hear, like, before you're up, you weren't able to do walks like that and talk, and it would have been a lot
Mm-mm.
slower. Breezer would have pulled away from you and all the rest of it. So it does
Yeah,
show
yeah.
that it's worked.
Oh, definitely, yeah. And that's why I was doing a lot of the stories really, so I could keep talking to prove to myself that I could talk
Yeah,
and and walk, and it was a good pace as well. So yeah, so something's worked inside,
yeah.
even though
Done the,
this still
yeah,
hurts
the
terribly
outside.
sometimes, really bad. But it's going.
Yeah.
You know, so
Yes, they did a lot of damage to that bit.
they bloody did, yeah. But the scar looks nice. The scar's healing really nice. You know, it's really good.
Yeah.
When my hairy chest comes back, that'll all be gone anyway.
Be hidden.
Yeah. Been looking forward to tonight. Not that I don't look forward to every guest, but really been looking forward to our guest tonight for the last few weeks.
Yeah, that's why I was annoyed that we might not be able to do it, but
Yeah, I know.
we made it.
We made it, but we did. I did arrange for it to be Friday if it wasn't
Yeah.
tonight. So come
Well,
on,
I think even if
let's.
if you'd have been in tonight, I would have been home now anyway because they kick you out at 8 o'clock. So I'd have been able to do it anyway.
Yeah,
I'd have just been sat
yeah,
around at home anyway, so it'd have distracted me from thinking
probably would
about
have
it. So,
been. Yeah, yeah.
but yeah, he's home, so all's good with the world.
Worked out. Worked out. Good.
Yeah. So should we get our guest then?
Yeah. Invite.
So tonight's guest is a gardener, an author, a podcaster, a veg grower, former editor of Grow Your Own magazine, won Best Showcase Garden after co-designing a garden at Gardeners World Fair, appears on local radio. We have been talking about her new book, Grow Food Anywhere, for weeks. It is, of course, Lucy Chamberlain. Let's get her in. Let the dog in that as well.
Hi.
Good evening.
Hello.
Mark's
Hello.
done a disappearing act. There he is.
He's
You're ever
back.
so blocky, Mark. You're really blocky on my screen.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Whether that's my signal or not, I don't know. These technical things, oh, it's terrible.
I know. Give me a plant any day.
Oh, definitely. Right, Lucy, what's that coating called on the seed? We couldn't remember.
Do you know, I was thinking that. I don't know, but I would call it a germination inhibitor or...
That's it. That's it.
Is
Yeah,
that
it's
it?
an
Is that what
inhibitor,
it
isn't it?
is?
Yeah,
Well, hey,
that's what I
there
know
you
it is.
go.
Yeah.
I've done my job.
Yeah. Yeah.
Phew.
So it just inhibits it until the right time for it to germinate.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. Yeah. Oh, yeah. And I have got my fire light, so... but I always do this. I light the fire, and then I shut the door, so the family's noise is kept away, and then I get like really hot. So I must start sweating. Yeah, exactly. I'll just slide like down.
How are you?
Oh, you know, I'm good, and thank you both so very much for inviting me to have a natter. It's lovely.
No,
it's lovely, and
thank you.
I know Mark, but I haven't met you properly, Jamie, have I? I've met Mark at we had a good nice chat at Audley End, and I've also seen you at Gardeners World Live. But Jamie, it's lovely to meet you officially. So
and
hello.
you. I've seen you. I've seen you at Gardeners World Live, just floating past. You know.
Yeah, with a bag full of plants.
Yes, yeah. I'll come and grab you this year.
Yeah, I'll be there. So will Saul. So we'll be in our usual spot. Yeah.
So we were just chatting a few minutes ago, Lucy, weren't we? Before, well, probably about 7 o'clock, and I said, "Oh, but you're getting really bored of all these interviews now because your book and everything else." But you said, "No, not at all. You enjoy it."
Yeah, no, I do. I love. Anyone who knows me will know that if you give me an excuse to talk about gardening, I'm your girl. You know, I love gardening. It's my life. It's it's work, and it's all my hobbies. I have a few other hobbies, but they're not as massive as gardening to me. So yeah, I'm very happy to be chatting to lovely folks such as yourselves.
But that's the thing, because we all love gardening so much. We tend to find every week, whatever guest is, we could go on for hours and hours.
Because
we
can't.
I've got my phone plugged in just in case.
Yes, that's it. So I don't really know where to start because you've got so much to your life about gardening and everything else. you want? Should we
I feel
start with
old.
this?
It's
Let's
because I'm
start with
50,
it.
because I'm 50 years old. That's what it is.
So am I. So am I. Don't worry about
Are
it.
you? Well, see, we
Yeah.
can say if we can
Well,
say it out loud. I think
I'm
we've accepted it all.
not quite. I'm 50 in May, to be honest. So.
You can say it out loud. That's the main thing, Jamie.
Yeah.
As
Oh,
long
yeah.
as you're happy
Definitely.
with it and you can stare it in the eye and you're all right, then you're good to go.
50's the new 30, I think.
Exactly.
Definitely. Yeah.
I didn't realise you were 50 this year, Jamie.
Don't tell
The big
anyone.
50.
I
Because
am.
it's my big 40 this year, so
Oh,
we're 10
wow.
years apart.
10 years. You little baby. Look. Oh.
Isn't he just? Oh, Mark. You should have a double celebration. You need to do a boys on tour doing something.
Yeah, joint
When's yours, Mark?
August.
August. I thought it was, yeah. We'll have to do something in the middle.
Yeah. Garden show or something, or a garden.
There will be. Yeah. Gardens World Live. When's that? June? 2?
I'll do.
Yeah.
I need to say quickly hello
This.
to Avril. I can see Avril's joined me, and she's done a couple of stories and reels about the book, which is lovely of her.
She
So thank you, Avril.
has.
Very kind of-
Avril's amazing.
Yeah.
She's lovely. Really nice. So she's been stories about this book, this amazing book.
Well, thank you.
This now, so I've got a shelf full of books, gardening books, allotment books, and this is now my go-to. They've all taken the back seat.
Stop it! You'll make me blush.
No,
It won't be the fire.
it's true. It's so true. It is unbelievably true. It's just everything's there. Everything's there where you need it, and more than all the other books that are on the shelf.
Oh, bless you. That's very. Do you know, that's lovely to hear, Jamie. Thank you ever so. I enjoyed putting it together. It was it's the first time I've pitched a book from start to finish, because when I did another book for the RHS, the step-by-step veg patch, which was lovely, but that came about when I was editing Grow Your Own, and I just was starting to sort of like have meetings with all the publishers, because the way magazines work often is that they have, if you've got a celebrity who's got a book out, then you can do extracts for the book. So we were getting to know people, and then through that meeting, just on the back of it, they said to me, do you want to do something, because we've got this Grow Your Own book and we're trying to find someone to put it together. And I was like, oh yeah, I'll do that. So they'd already got the concept of the book there, and they got someone to photograph it. They got all that sorted, and I just dropped in to write it. But this one was me, my little baby, my little green baby, sort of, so, in my head, been forming it for a little while. And then I spoke to the team at DK, and went through the whole process. It was lovely. I really enjoyed it, and crafting the contents and stuff. So it's great to hear that you feel it's got content that is relevant to you. That's lovely.
Yeah, definitely. Really has. So how do you start to even think about writing a book like that then? Because I don't know. I wouldn't have a clue. I've obviously got to come up with this grow anywhere, food anywhere idea first.
Yeah.
Is that what you thought? You knew you wanted that thing?
That was what I wanted to sort of pitch to Dorling Kindersley, because I'd been working at East Alden Hall for I was there 10 years, and in that time, because they'd got a big walled kitchen garden there, I'd got some ideas about how the plants were growing and where they were positioned, and I could see that they were doing really well where they were placed. And then simultaneously, I was designing and developing my own little garden at home, and that had that's got a nice big 40 by 40 foot edible plot to it. And so I started putting crops where I thought they should go, and it just seemed to be that worked really well. And I was like, do you know what? There's legs in that. There's real legs in that topic, because it's not talked about very much. We love growing what we like to eat, but we don't maybe think about what the plants need. And then and that's what I pitched to Chris Young. He was the kind of gardening consultant for DK, and I've known Chris for years, because when I worked at Wisley, Chris was he was editing the garden magazine, so we kind of like spoke to each other then. And he was like, oh, I like that idea. and then he pitched it to his team at Dorling Kindersley, and that's how it all then eventually came about. They have to see if it's got commercial legs, if there's another book out there that's got the same subject matter, you know, all that kind of stuff. They've got to see how much profit they think they might make from it. You know, they have to go to various book fairs, which I think this time of year, I think if you speak to anyone now in the book industry, I think winter, spring is when they start doing all these book fairs, and that's where they see if it's commercially viable. And then, crikey, then you're off. It's crazy.
What?
Hold on.
So they actually do. They do. They go to book fairs and do research and ask people, "Do you think you would like this?" And
yeah,
oh,
yeah,
wow.
yeah. And I don't understand that bit quite so much because that's not what I'm involved in. Obviously, I wrote it, but they will explain to me that's what's going on. And it's got, like I say, it's got to have commercial legs. As much you've got to have
of course, yeah.
You know, topic. And I think the way I hope that people get this is a bit of a slightly different way of looking at edibles. That's what I'm hoping coming across. So, and yeah, so there you go.
Absolutely amazing. So it's made me think straight away differently about my plot. So my plot is basically we've got a horse fair at the back, and I stole some of my wife's horse field and made my new plot 2 years ago.
Nice.
So there's no shade in my plot at all.
Yeah.
It is just in an open field, and it gets the sun all day, right the way over in the summer.
Lovely.
So then yeah, amazing. You know, a lot of people would love it, but then I think, oh God, why are my lettuces all bolting? Why is this? You know, because they're in the sun all day, every day. So now I start thinking, so I've got my pumpkin tunnel right down the middle. It's 10 meters, big pumpkin tunnel. I'm going to start using the north side of that for lettuces and things like that, so they get some of the shade throughout the day once the pumpkin's up and over.
Yeah.
So just that, you know, that little, it's going to make a big difference to me.
Fantastic. Yeah. And so using shade, you know, people get quite depressed about shade, and that's again another objective of the book is to say, well, actually, shade's a really useful thing to have. You know, it can keep the roots cool, keeps the roots moist, and if anyone who's trying to go celeriac, you know, it's a swine if you try and grow it on a hot, you know, area or on a free draining soil. It needs that moisture, so you can use that as a tool to keep the, you know, the growth rate nice and slow and steady. It's like Florence Fennel loves it nice and kind of like moist. It likes a bit of warmth, but it likes that consistent moisture. And loads of tree fruit love to have cool roots. The raspberries, for example, they love to have their roots in the shade, and then they can like pop up and see a little bit of the sun or whatever. So yeah, shade is good. It really is. And like you say, your lettuces, Jamie, they will be much less likely to bolt if you put them in the shade, especially in the heat of the summer. You can maybe get away with it in the spring and the autumn, those seasons where the sun's not so high. But definitely in the height of the summer, shade is your friend for lush leaves.
Definitely. Definitely is. Well, I'm not quite all the way through your book yet. I've not had mine as long as Mark has. Mark, you're all the way through, aren't you?
Yep, cover to cover and back again.
Oh.
to write on my list of extra plants that I want for this year. There's lots of ideas in there, and I definitely want to get more of the more perennial and shrub based stuff in my veg garden, because I think that's a game changer.
Yeah. I grow loads of fruit. I grow as much fruit as I do veg, and like say perennial veggies, but they're becoming much more sort of popular now as we look towards maybe permaculture and that kind of way of growing. So, and they're easy. They honestly, the classic asparagus and my globe artichokes, they're a doddle to look after because they're there all the time. As long as I keep the perennial weeds out, that's my bugbear at home. I've got ground elder on the plot, so I have to try and manage that somehow. But yeah, perennials are great. And if you do have something like you guys know, if you have an illness or time where you're taken away from the plot for a certain amount of time, a long period of time, if you've got fruit there, be it blueberries or raspberries or apples or a massive big tayberry grown over the shed, they will always deliver for you. Whereas if you haven't sown your lettuce or quick to mature stuff, you might lose that for a moment on the plot. But that's why I think fruit's so good. It actually, again, for me, makes my plot more low maintenance because I just have to get my secateurs out in the winter and, that's it. So
Perfect. There's definitely, well, two things that I'm definitely getting. And to be honest, I was going to get them before I even read the book, because I listened to your podcast as well. So it's the Malabar spinach
Yeah, we've said about that.
yeah, good.
and agretti. Is that how you say it? The agretti.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the two. I hear you talk about both of them so much. So they've got to be on my plot this year.
They're really good, and they're so. Both of them love the heat. So if we get a really hot summer, they're great. And the agretti seems to be for me quite. It's good in the sort of like I've got a sandy soil, so for me I have to be mindful of stuff that maybe comes from a maritime place.
Yeah.
So like say the globe artichokes are really good. They don't mind the drought at all. The asparagus is great. Things like salsify and scorzonera. Yeah, I'm sorry. I can see people asking stuff. I'm so sorry. You'll get the gist of me. I keep chatting away. I'm so sorry.
Hard to keep up with sometimes.
My comments have stopped, Mark, so you'll have to keep an eye on them. Sorry.
Norfolk Blue Door Flowers is asking what is agretti, and it's basically like samphire. When you go to a swanky seafood restaurant and they always give you the fish and then they give you the samphire on the side. And when you eat samphire, it's got quite a woody, fibrous component to it. If they haven't harvested it at the right season, it can be a little bit woody.
Yeah.
Right.
So agretti is literally like samphire, but it doesn't need a salt marsh to grow in. It will grow. It grows really well in my sandy soil. It can grow anywhere. It likes heat. It likes good drainage, but it doesn't need salt. It doesn't need a salt marsh. And it's honestly, it's so good. It's so tasty, raw. It's got a lovely succulent bite to it, and you can wilt it down and make it like as a vinaigrette dressing to have it. It's like a cold sort of salad dish. You just keep pinching it out. If you keep pinching it out, it doesn't go woody. And yeah, and Malabar spinach is just Oh, there! Well done, Jake. Well done. That's what it is. I think you can have raised beds or grow it in a pot if you want to. If you're worried about your drainage, just looking at the comments. So definitely give it a go and see. I think
I'm definitely going to do both of those. And the Malabar, you just about to talk about the Malabar spinach. Give us some tips about that as well.
Oh well, only in that it grows. So I don't deal too much with greenhouses in the book, because for me, what I'm trying to do is teach people to look at their plot as it is. So a sunny, sheltered corner is great for Malabar. You do need a warmer summer for it. If we have a real inclement summer, it might not get going. But if you get those really long, hot, dry summers, it's really good, and it produces, again, it's got like a fleshy, succulent leaf, but the leaves are like yay big, like as big as, say, if you know catalpa, the Indian bean tree, the leaves are that big, and they're succulent, and they never get leathery and tough. You can eat a tiny leaf and you can eat a big leaf, and they all have the same lovely, tender, what I call velvety texture. Saul doesn't like it as much as me. He says it's slimy, and it's like okra. Okra's a bit, if you don't like okra, you're a bit slimy. Or mucilaginous, or whatever that word is, it doesn't sound very attractive.
No.
But I like velvety Malabar spinach, so I think it's great.
Sounds good. So it's not like a chard.
No, do you know what though? It's got a very similar texture to, like you say, like a perennial chard or a really thickly Daniel spinach.
Right.
But it grows like a climber. It grows like a runner bean. And if you grow it if you do grow it in a greenhouse, if you've got the luxury of space of having a big greenhouse, it grows like hops. It literally grows. I've seen it at Audley End every summer. The girls do a lovely job of growing it like right into the roof of their big lean-to greenhouse in the garden, and they use like a bristly twine to climb it up because it grips to the bristles. And it's like 10 foot high. We get everyone to munch on the leaves. So yeah, it's really good. It's so productive.
I love climbing things. I just like beans, and I don't have dwarf beans. I just don't do it. I can't see the point. If I'm going to waste that space, I might as well go up and have them climbing up to 7-8 foot. So so you're now saying that's a climber as well. What a bonus!
You're off. There you go, Jamie. Yeah. That'll be it. I'm imagining swathes of it on your allotment now in the sun, loving it all. So.
You won't
And
fit
if it's
any squash on your arm.
oh no, I'm gonna have to save half my arch for it and get it right way over the top. But if it's the same as spinach or anything like that, the kids and the wife won't eat it anyway, so it'll be mine.
Yeah. I think there's quite a lot of unusual edibles that I've tried loads, and some of them I think they're novelty for a good reason, without being rude. And so that's why in the book I do talk about unusual edibles as well as the mainstream stuff. I'm trying to encourage beginners, because they're going to be familiar with, you know, the carrots and the calibres and your peas and stuff. But I also want to encourage people to try these more unusual things, but only the stuff that I try and I think it's tasty and it yields, you know, you get decent yields off it, because there's no point putting space down to something if you get a puny yield off it, or one flush and that's it. So you know, the Malabar and the Agretti, they're backbone crops for me now. I grow them every year. And New Zealand spinach is my latest. Oh gosh, that's incredible.
Yeah.
So, oh yeah, honestly, Jamie, get that as well if you fancy some unusuals. New Zealand spinach on my sandy soil in the sun. Loves it. It's very, again, real fleshy, meaty spinach. And it just grows all like a big ground cover, like billio, and you just keep pinching. And, delicious. So
fantastic. I tell you what I like. I like it that you, I like recommendations. I don't like, I know all these fantastic seed companies, they say, try this.
yeah.
But someone, you're not making anything out of me going and buying some Malabar spinach seeds, you know, but they are, that kind of thing. But you love it, and that's why I love a recommendation.
Yeah, well, it's, you know, gardeners, we love, that's what I'm saying, we love talking about stuff that we find does well and doesn't do well. And I think as a hobby, and for me as an industry, everyone's so generous. That's what I love about it, and that's why I've been in gardening, well, whatever, 30 odd years or whatever it is, because people are so kind and they want to share stuff, and I think that's really nice. So if you know, if I can do the same, that's all right, isn't it? So.
Yeah, brilliant. So I've only been gardening properly since lockdown. So, and I've noticed that just in these last 4 years.
Yeah.
The gardening community is just 99% amazing. Really nice.
Yeah, it is. It's lovely, isn't it? So yeah.
So you're where to go? Let's go. Should we go to the beginning? Where did you get any kind of love for gardening from then? I know because I've listened to lots about you the last few weeks.
So it's my parents. My parents were smallholders on the Land Settlement Agency site. Just if you are from Essex, you'll know. Maybe if you drive towards Lawford, there's the whole load of smallholdings, and that was a lovely part of my life. That was a cooperative of growers who then used the kind of like they each in the individual smallholdings produced certain crops, and then what they do is they'd sell them collectively to the London market, and it meant they could command a really good price because they were selling stuff in volume, and it was really good. It was set up just after the war to try and get people back into growing food and to get the country being self-sufficient as much as it could be. So that was them. It was a 10-acre site, and I was there till I was about 7, and I've got such lovely memories of that place and the community spirit of that.
I bet you have.
It was so nice. And if you hear people, if ever I come across people that were in that, because there were small holding sites all over the country. I think we produced something like 60% of the country's salads at one point. It was massive, absolutely massive.
Wow.
But everyone says what a lovely community spirit it was. It was really, really enjoyable and just like a big extended family. So yeah.
So was it there 10 acres on its own, or was it like a big, somebody else was next door? So it was like allotments, but on a grand scale.
Yeah, so there was maybe, I think at Lawford you've got maybe 20, 25 nursery, small holdings, and each of them had like a 10-acre plot. I'm sure it was 10 acres.
Oh, fantastic.
I'm sure. But it was a decent size plot, and then everyone shared the machinery. and there was a propagation house, what we call the prop house. So they germinate all the celery, the tomatoes, the lettuce, and then they distribute it around all the folk. And you know, my dad was taught by a guy called Terry all the stuff he knows about growing edibles, and then of course I've learned that from them. So yeah,
Fantastic. So what kind of things did they grow then?
it was mostly tomatoes, which is why I was known on the podcast for a bit as Crazy Tomato Lady. I love tomatoes.
We'll get to that.
Yeah. And just the smell of tomatoes to me is so evocative, because
Exactly
like,
the same as me.
Yeah. If you're brought up with things like that, the smell just takes you back, and it's such a familiar feeling. So, like from the age of 3 or 4, I was walking up and down the greenhouses with Mum and Dad, and I remember picking tomatoes when I was about 4 or 5 years old, and we'd have to get the dust off them, because in commercial houses back in those days, it was all grown in the soil. And as you sort of like damp down to irrigate them and, you know, get the blossom to set, you'd get loads of like mud splashing up, and we'd have to get the mud off the fruits to send them to London because they wouldn't accept them otherwise. But you know, it was all part of the thing, wasn't it? So yeah.
I've said quite regularly, that's probably the best thing, walking into greenhouse in the summer when it's nice and hot. That tomato smell just brings back every single thing, from my dad's tiny little greenhouse, lean-to greenhouse, to my granddad. You know, just the best times ever.
Yeah, no, I'm so with you on that. It's I say and yeah, like you say, you mentioned we do a podcast, and if we interview folk on that, 9 times out of 10, these are folk that maybe are now in the industry in their, say, 30s, 40s, 50s. They all, we say, you know, what's your earliest memories? And it's either the parents or the grandparents involved the children in gardening and horticulture. And I think if you have those memories and those, you know, the smell, the feel of the sun on your skin, all that lovely stuff, it sticks with you. It's so good.
Just amazing.
Yeah.
So tomatoes are my favourite thing to grow. Absolutely love them. I don't buy tomatoes from the supermarkets through the winter because there's no point. They just taste of nothing.
Yeah.
So I'm starting to get a bit excited for the next few weeks. I've got my seeds for my micro tomatoes have arrived today, so I'm going to start getting them in soon. Mark's already done his. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, really can't wait. It's all starting to buzz, isn't it?
How tall do your micro toms get? What varieties have you got?
Really little.
Last year they're really little, only about a foot just in a small pot.
Brilliant. Yeah.
But I grew orange. I think they're called orange top hat last year. Catherine, she's probably on it, I can't tell, but she gave me a couple of plants, and they were amazing. Just didn't have to touch them. Give them a bit of water every few days, and they just keep pumping the fruit out constantly. So I've got 5 or 6 different ones this year. Yeah,
I grew one for the show garden that was called Veranda Red, and I don't grow many of the smaller tomatoes, but if I did, that was a really good one. It's not, I wouldn't call it a micro tom. It's still got to about 1.5 foot tall, but God, it was covered, and you didn't, like you say, you didn't have to do a thing to it, and it tasted really nice. It was really good. So, and I just noticed Jenny was talking about the smell of the tomatoes in the greenhouse when she was in her grandparents' greenhouse, and so it's like I say, that smell is just, you could, if you bottled that up, I'm sure gardens would buy that.
Oh my gosh, they would.
There you go, there's an idea.
The best thing is
winter.
The best thing I found is when you've left them for a little bit too long, you need to go and then prune quite drastically, and your hands are green, and that just stays, and it smells and is green for days and days.
Yeah. If it gets in your hair, I'm sorry, this is I'm sorry, Goon, but it smells like, it makes your hair feel like straw, because I remember that with my me and my brother. So I've got one brother, and we were put to work on the nursery, as most kids, you know, with practical parents are put to work, and we would de-leaf the tomatoes, and you know, big greenhouse of tomatoes, and your hands, you'd have gloves on, but it would still get through, and you'd get covered in that green, and it'd be on your face, and like I say, if you get it in your hair, it makes it feel like straw. It's disgusting. And so we'd my uncle was a rep for a swimming pool company, so he managed to get one of those the ones that you put above ground. This is so exciting. When I was a teenager, nobody had a swimming pool, and we'd literally pelt it from the greenhouse at 1 o'clock when we stopped work, run right across the lawn. We were sweating in these like 35-degree greenhouses, and just jump in the pool. Strip off all our kind of like our shirts and stuff, and just like jump in there to kind of get that green off, because you either like it, but as a teenager I didn't like it, because I didn't even like tomatoes when I was younger. I've only grown to them as an adult, so
I didn't. Yeah. I couldn't even have tomato ketchup until I was about 17.
Yeah.
Strange. So you worked for your mum and dad in the greenhouses and things.
Yeah.
So that is obviously what planted the seed for your love of gardening in your later years.
Yeah, it was that, and my grandparents were really good gardeners too, and it did. So I was going to go to, I went to Riddle College because it wasn't too far away from. So we're just outside Colchester. Riddle's at Chelmsford, so it was like a half an hour drive away, and it was just far enough to go to make you think I've left home, but I'm only half an hour away from the washing machine and mum and dad and good home cooking. It was perfect for me. So I went to Riddle and studied horticulture, and I really wanted to take on mum and dad's nursery, but it was at the time when supermarkets were really squeezing the profit margins, and they were saying to me, look, they hadn't made a profit in the last 5 or 6 years of their business, and they said, look, it's just not the right thing for you to do. And of course I was disappointed at that, because I'd lived that life and I couldn't really see past anything more than that. I really loved that way of life. But then other opportunities came up. I went and did a degree course because I loved all the science of horticulture, and that's when the job at Wisley then came up after I'd graduated there, and that then took me down introduced me to writing, because we used to write for the garden magazine at Wisley, and it just put me right at the coalface of a wonderful charity that gardens to a really good level. So when you're learning that and you're absorbing it and you're seeing it and you're doing all the, because we could go on the practical demos and take part in it, that was great. That was just so good.
Yeah.
So I'd done the science at uni and at Riddle and Y College, and then Wisley was like the practical course. It was and that was, I feel so lucky to have had those two things, and that's really been my backbone for my foundation for horticulture. I think that's what it was. I was really lucky.
Yeah, definitely. Really good.
Great start.
So after Wisley, what happened then?
That was I went to a beautiful part of the world. I went to Poole in Dorset.
Oh, lovely.
Because it was really nice.
Really nice.
And I dated a guy who had an Aprilia motorbike at the time. So at weekends we'd go around all the Dorset coastal roads, and he was a motorbike instructor, so I'd just sit behind him, holding on to his love handles. And if you know bikes, you know that's an official term. I would just go. I just literally swing around the Dorset roads. So that was and the beaches, sandbanks down there, Poole Harbour. That was so beautiful. But that was writing for Amateur Gardening magazine. So that was the gardening editor, where you did about 10 pages a week on what to do in your garden this week. So it's like writing practical stuff and photographing that. But not just on edibles, on everything. So that was good.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
And then the job at Grey Roan came up. And the funny thing about that, so I was at AG for amateur gardening, for was it 4 years, I think? And I always knew that I really wanted to go back to where mum and dad were, and my brother. They're all, sort of around the Colchester area. And my friend saw this job, editing Grow Your Own, and it's produced in Colchester. And I was like, oh my God, I hadn't seen the job advert, he had, and I have to thank him massively, because it was just like perfect. You can imagine,
Unbelievable.
I was so lucky. So, yeah, there you go. So that was 6 years.
Obviously lucky that your friend told you about it, but not lucky to get the job. You knew what you were doing. They wouldn't have given you it if you hadn't.
Oh, but no, it was great, and that I think being in charge of a magazine was good because I'd written, I'd obviously done magazine work before, but sitting in the editor's chair, as scary as that prospect is, and I remember the first 6 months of that job, I'd go home often in tears because it was so much. It was like a whacking great big learning curve, and God, the amount of emails you get. That's the one thing that frustrates me with emails is that you can't. There's no kind of like switch. Your inbox just keeps getting fuller and fuller and fuller, and I found it was like crazy. But being at the driving seat, you then got to understand the commercial side of a magazine. So we had the ads team and the design team, and sort of seeing the whole thing as that big vehicle, that big commercial vehicle. I found that really, really interesting, really interesting. So yeah.
I suppose be the editor, everything is on your back, isn't it? Everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's why you were crying when you were going home sometimes.
Yeah, seriously. And you've got a big team of people helping, but the person who the readers feel is responsible for the magazine and making all, writing every single word and choosing every single photo is you. So, and in the I'm sort of signing off pages. So I guess in that sense it is you to a degree, but it was you've got to develop a bit of a thick skin.
Yeah, I bet.
But at the same time, it was a wonderful experience. And I say what a brilliant magazine to work on. It was just like my life all in one. So yeah,
Phenomenal.
yeah.
So up until this point, you've not done a huge amount of actually gardening, have you?
In that sense, no. I got mum and dad, and a few bits at Wisley, but no, I hadn't been in charge of a garden apart from my own and working for other folks. Yeah.
Unbelievable, brilliant.
Yeah.
And then once all the editor's job is, I don't know what did you quit? Or did something else come up?
No, there was two things really. It was I was missing outside life because you imagine like with mum and dad, it was such an outdoor lifestyle, and I just bought was buying a new house with my husband, and it got a big garden, and I was missing that and feeling a bit frustrated that I was in an office it was 9 to 5 in an office. There was before the days of working at home became really a thing, and and also it was the age of the internet, like really gathering pace and becoming more mainstream, and so places like gardening magazines, they were intimidated by that, and I felt we were becoming more of like at that time a words factory, because there was this panic, so you produced lots and lots and lots of content and you couldn't craft it very well. It was an unusual time. I think it's all settled down now, but it was for me, I was like, I missed outside, and I didn't feel like we could craft stuff, so I started looking for other things, and that's when the Donnellan Hall job came up, and that the head gardener there was retiring, and they needed someone to sort of step in, and it started off at 1 day a week and then quickly became 3, and then at the height 4. And I mean, quite like you say, Jamie, I didn't hadn't looked after many a garden at all, and then it was like 85 acres of garden. Ridiculous, isn't it? It's just ridiculous. But loads of that was woodland. I should say that is, it sounds a grand number, but there was loads of woodland, and it was by the estuary, so there was like these sort of pastures going down to the estuary, and there was a big wildflower meadow, and I would say about 7 or so acres was like highly maintained gardens. So, but honestly, my God, again, it was brilliant. It was another steep learning curve of, I've never been at the helm of a garden before, and the head gardener had, in that sense, he sort of left, so I hadn't got anyone to pass the baton to me.
Yeah.
So you just have to get on with it.
I bet it was a massive change, because just going back to saying, 9 till 5 in an office, and then straight to all day outside. Like Mark, you're outside all day, every day. I bet you would find it
Yeah.
impossible to sit in an office all day.
Yeah. Well, some days I'd quite like it when it's absolutely hideous outside. But that's what
Yeah.
polytunnels and greenhouses are for.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I had to have my I remember I had to have my wedding ring made a size bigger, because obviously when you're sort of sitting typing at a desk, you've got nice slender fingers, and then just through doing the physical work at the hall, I mean, I've got quite strong hands, but yeah, that repetitiveness meant
Just with secateurs and everything.
yeah,
Yeah, definitely.
exactly. And like, I do a lot of work with my hands. I'm probably going to get awful arthritis when I'm older, but I tend to do a lot of weeding, and you know, I'm constantly on my hands and knees in the garden. I like to be involved in it. So yeah, I say I had to get the wedding ring made bigger. So
You got strong hands.
yeah, I have. Take you on an arm wrestle anytime.
Yeah.
So,
so did you have staff? Did you have people, working for you while you were there?
yeah, we did, which was lovely. So there was a guy, Pat, who would do the lawns, and my husband Ian would come in now and then as well, because he's obviously he's as local as I am, and it was good to have someone he's really good at his hedges and edges, that kind of work. And so he was coming in, not as much as me, but he was still there now and then. And we've got Jade, we sort of called her my apprentice in that sense. So I trained her up, and I had another guy for a while, Neil, another girl called Boo, AD. Not all together. This is like, so collectively, I probably had about 3 or 4 staff to manage, as it were. But I really enjoyed that, because I'd managed folk at Grow Your Own, so I sort of knew how to manage all the admin side of things. But with gardening, it's really good, because people have different skills. There's intricate jobs that some people have got patience for. Ian loves a straight line, so if I had to get like an edge on, or get the hedge pushed back, or whatever, he was the guy to do that.
I just laughed to myself there, and I just imagine Ian going, "What am I doing today?" And you go, "Hedges and edges."
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. But and then and there's always jobs that some are one-person jobs. Like, if it was pruning a smallish rose, we could easily set someone up on their own. But if we used to have to plant like thousands of bulbs, and to do that on your own is like soul destroying. I love gardening, but my God, there's jobs that are really, really a slog if you're doing it on your own. And so, again, I'd kind of get the team together to do those sorts of things. And then sometimes we'd just go up into the woods and make habitat piles and weed the bluebells, and and we'd always have coffee together. We'd often have coffee with Peter and Sarah, who were the owners of the hall when they were alive. And that was so lovely, going into the hall and sitting in this big kitchen, and the housekeeper was there, Ros.
Oh wow.
And, she'd make us all the drinks, and then Peter would come through, and they got 2 dogs, and they'd all, we'd take our dog to work as well, and it was so lovely. It was a really nice thing to do, and they've got the kitchen garden there. What a place. So
yeah, I think that would be you might realise already, the vegetables and edibles are my thing, so the kitchen garden would be I love a kitchen garden. I head whenever I go to a garden or somewhere, I straight to the kitchen garden to have a look first.
Yeah. I can see Jenny saying she's still got some spring bowls to plant. Jenny, don't worry, we've all been there, we've all had that, so don't worry.
Get them in. They'll be all right.
Yeah, exactly. Chuck them in.
Yeah. Definitely. Wow, so that must have been exciting times. I'd have loved that. I think it'd be really good. So you got your team, and just you don't know what's different things every day, and
it was lovely.
Some days you having a big group, having a chat, like I say, doing all those bulbs. You could be having a laugh and a chat all day, and then next day you could be on your own in the woods.
Yeah. It was a nice mixture, because I think gardening is, like I say, you can have lonely jobs, but sometimes you want that solitude, don't you? There's with Mum and Dad, when we were picking out like thousands of celery or tomato seedlings, we just like have the radio on, and we'd just be sat there on our stools in the greenhouse, like pricking out for hours.
Yeah.
And I used to love that. But also the banter. If you do feel a bit flat and you want someone to boost you up, you know, any job that you do, even if it's repetitive and you're on your hands and knees, if you've got good banter around you, that's really nice, isn't it? And anyone who knows my husband knows he's like the banter king. So that was fine. Yeah, we used to love doing all that. So, and yeah, you know, I got to know the estate really well. I think that's what I enjoyed most about it, because you get to, you know, this with your own garden or gardens that you work out a lot, you get to read the garden, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you know where all the little microclimates are, and you know the soil type, you know the leak, you know the you know the dripping gutter, you know the leaky tap, you know the way the gates open, they've all got little knacks to them. You know the trees that are more vulnerable to the wind damage when the storms come through. All of that, you know, all those layers of things makes you feel really connected to the garden, whether it's your own garden or whether it's a big estate, you know. And it's a real privilege to oversee a big place like that. I mean, I don't know that I'm ever going to get to do that again. That was literally just down the road, which is incredible. You know, that was in our village, that is the only sort of big estate locally. And there I was.
Open to the public, Lucy?
No, we used to open it one afternoon a year and do this wonderful sort of like show, which was really nice. But because the estate's now being sold, so East Donnellan Hall was what it was called. But it's, like I say, it's private. It's not open to the public. And like I say, the minute it's been on the market for a year and a half or so, it's just a sign of the times, isn't it? Things are, you know, things are what they are. So I do miss it.
Yeah. So is that part of the reason why you're not there now, because they're selling?
Yeah, they're selling, and they were going through probate, and they had to lay all the garden staff off. I think there's got people there just cutting the grass and doing bits of maintenance. But before we left, it was a really peculiar time, because we had to put weed control fabric over the whole of the kitchen garden, and we had to prune all the roses back really hard, even though it was the late summer. We had to prune them as if it was winter, to kind of like get that year of pruning done. And it was there was lots of stuff being cleared out, because all the possessions were being either distributed around the family or being sold. So in a way, it was, I don't know, it was like a bit of, sounds corny, doesn't it? But that closure, I suppose you sort of think, well, that was that chapter in that estate's life, and now we saw Peter and Sarah in their, you know, when they were really healthy and active, and then we saw them decline and then very sadly pass away, and then you see the estate sold. So it's, you know, I don't know. I'm so glad I did it, but there's sort of very bittersweet memories with that, I think.
Yeah, I bet. I can imagine.
Yeah.
So if the new owners come knocking on the door, do you think you'd go back?
Yeah, I would. It's a lot, you know, it's like I say, it's, you just know it inside out. So it's in that sense, you can't, if you're so connected to somewhere, you can't fail to want to go back there. And I'd love to renovate the place. I bet by now, like, it would be perfect for renovation. Oh my God, I'd love to get
started again.
Yeah. Yeah. So
you'd probably walk in there now and go, "Oh my God, look at it."
Oh, I don't know. I reckon they've been doing a good job of keeping it, you know, looking. You've got to, in case there's viewings and stuff, haven't you? So.
Oh yes, but yeah, nobody wants to buy 50 acres of whatever, you know, brambles and goodness what.
Yeah. Like, was it Cinderella who was asleep for 100 years? I've sort of in my head, I've got this romantic image of it being a bit like that. You know, going there with your machete.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, but I knew that the hall was. I knew, it's funny because that's why I did the show garden. So going back to what was you could read what was going on. You know, I say something was the estate had kind of gone a bit dormant because of their passing, and because things take time. And I was like, oh, what can I do? So that's why I did the show garden, because I got a phone call from one of the show's team saying, do you want to do a grow your own garden? I'm like, yeah. How nice, you know. And then that's how the book came around as well, because again, at that time we hadn't been laid off, but I just knew that there was something. We were just bubbling along at the estate, and it wasn't like a satisfying job in that sense. We were just ticking over, and then I just spoke to Chris. So that was 2 years ago that I spoke to Chris, and then you know the rest. That is where I am now, and I'm now enjoying doing a bit more gardening, because the book took lots of writing time and I couldn't do as much gardening. But now I've just taken on a job in the village. I did that in September, and I'm really getting to grips with that now. It's another estate, a lot, it's, smaller, but it's got lots of lovely features to it, and it needs renovation. It's a familiar feeling. There's lots of shrubs that need loads of whacking back and clearing out, and lots of borders that are ripe for like me getting in there with my spade and yeah. So no, that's where we are.
So are you full time at that place and all? Because maybe I'm wrong, but I thought you were doing a bit of jobbing about.
Yeah, no, I'm still jobbing about. That's only like one day. So it might go up to 2.
Right.
I've got another day on Mersey Island, which is a beautiful island near to me. So I'm doing that, and I do writing still for amateur gardening. It equates to about once a week or so, and then sometimes I'll do writing for other magazines a little bit, and I also am on the radio on the Sundays. So that's my week. I've got radio on Sundays, amateur gardening, and then I've got at least 2 gardens that are every week, and then I do my mum's every now and then. I've just been doing my another friend in the village, been pruning her apple trees today, because people get very twitchy about their apple trees, don't they? They don't. It's a shame. I love pruning. Yeah. So I'm sort of juggling stuff. Because I'm a mum, and I do the school run, so things have to fit around that now, which they never used to have to do.
No.
So, and we all know what that's. Young kids bring stuff with them, don't they? So you've got to be a bit more. Lots of stuff. Yeah. So you've got to be a bit flexible, really. So
yeah. Definitely.
Yeah.
I'm really intrigued about the show garden now. Can you tell us some more about that? I really want to know more about that.
Yeah, no, of course I can. Yeah, so I got a phone call from a chap called Bob Sweet, and if you know the archers, so Bob and Stephen Bennett used to be in charge of Chelsea and Hampton Court shows, and many others eons ago. And then Bob went to the BBC shows, so he'd known me from my days at Whistling. And then that's how I then got to work at the Gardeners World live shows, through Bob just saying, "Could you do the advice?"
I know Bob.
Yeah. Oh, well,
I don't know. I've met him because I was on Kim O'Brien's garden.
Oh, right. So. Yes. Yeah, he's a lovely soul. Really nice chap. Good hugs, Bob. Gives a good hug.
I've never had one of them, Lucy.
Oh, Jenny, you should do. You've got to ask him for one. Yeah, and I say he phoned me up in the October. Got to get my years right. I think it was 2021. And he said that we've got this budget. Do you want to do a show garden? We want content for the show, because they were still trying to build up the Audley End shows. We've got a relatively new show, and when that happens, if it's a new show, they need to ensure that there's content there for the public. And obviously, a main lure for the public is the show gardens. And he said, "Look, we've got this budget. Do you want to do one?" And I'd always thought I'd like to eventually, but I wasn't quite ready to do it. But then I also thought, well, when am I ever going to get the chance to do this again? So that I just said yes, but I said I need to just line up a few things first, because I've never done one. I'd be really naive to think I could just go in there and it would all work great. I know people that have done show gardens, and it's flipping hard work. There's a lot of parameters, things can go wrong, and you've got to reassess stuff. And I was like, I can't do this on my own. So there was a chap, John Wheatley, and if you go to Chelsea, John's won so many golds. He's such a talented man, and his partner in crime is a lovely chap called Terry Porter. And if ever you've seen in the last 15 or so years any of those show gardens at Hampton Court or Chelsea that's got veg, all the grow your own ones, Terry will have grown those veg, and he again always gets gold. It's insane. And I was like, if you guys could mentor me, just give me a bit of guidance, then I'll try and do this show garden. So that's what I did. Yeah, I mean, I was so lucky. John was doing Chelsea that year, and he invited me to work on his Chelsea plot, which was wonderful. And they get such an experience. And if you watched Richard the Veg podcast last night, Veg Grow podcast, there's a sneaky little thing that I omitted about John's show garden.
I listened to it this morning.
I'm not telling too many people, but honestly, yeah, I'll just leave that one hanging there. Yeah, and then I went to see Terry. Terry lives at Weston-super-Mare, and he grows all his veg. And he was, again, this is what we're saying about gardeners being so generous with their knowledge, so lovely, you know, so he was brilliant. He was so transparent about it all. And he was like, you know, if you grow veg for show gardens, you need to pot them up really quickly, so there's no checking growth. You want them to like really rocket exponentially in growth. And he was telling us the compost to use. And it was all undercover. He said, you've got to grow them all undercover, because if you have them outside and there's a hailstorm, or, you know, the cabbage whites come, it's so tough. So I was like, right, okay, if I can do this. And I also asked a couple of the girls at Audley End to help me, because it was just a big thing, you know. And yeah, so I got all those in place, and I said to Bob, yeah, I'll do it. And I found a nursery that was going to grow the plants, because I haven't got the growing space. You need a lot of space. But I was very happy to help. I was so happy to help and grow the stuff, but I just physically couldn't provide the space. So my local nursery, Dean's Nursery, were fantastic. They've got loads of undercover space, so perfect for growing the edibles. And they grow loads of spring bedding. So the deal was that I would sow loads of the crops and get them started. And then by the time it got to like May, June, their spring bedding was all off the greenhouse benches and sold. And they then had a lull time in their production cycle. They weren't generating any revenue in the summer. And I was like, well, I can give you revenue. I've got a budget. So can I grow the plants there? So the deal was they keep them alive. Yeah. And I would then go and visit and do all the finessing, all the kind of like training and all the de-leafing and fluffing and floofing that you have to do for show gardens. Yeah. And that's how it sort of worked. And yeah, it was the whole thing it was magical, because you got to be introduced to the world of sponsors, and to have, so we've got the garden press event coming up soon, haven't we? And I went to the garden press event, and I was saying to people, I'm doing a show garden. It was a 7-by-8 metre show garden at Audley End. Would you mind if I had that fire pit on the garden? And I'd never done this before. You honestly, my God, guys, it was shocking. It was amazing. Everybody I asked gave me stuff for free, and I was like, wow, this is mind blowing. You know, yeah, I felt very lucky. Again, really lucky, and it was a little insight into the designer's world and life. You know, so I got a fire pit from oh gosh, was it Fandango Fire Tools? I got a greenhouse from Forest Gardening. Oh, Mr. Fothergill's sponsored us by giving us some dahlia plants, and yeah, lots of things like that came. Crocus gave us loads of pots and bits and bobs, lots of gardenalia to kind of dress the garden, because it was all about grow your own through three lengths of time, through the Victorian era, the 70s, and then the modern day. And that's what we were trying to show in the garden. Yeah.
So what year was your garden at Audley End?
I think it was 2022.
Yeah, I didn't go that year.
Or 2023. It's awful, isn't it? Because lockdown comes and it messes with
yeah, it does.
Yeah.
So I went in 23. Did you was it a white greenhouse?
Yes. Yeah, with the mower and the lawn and the table with all the cream tea on it.
I think
remember that one?
Yes, must have been 23 then.
Yeah. Oh, there you go.
That was the first year we went.
I'm glad you know. It was just a blur. Oh my God, it was.
Is it right at the beginning when you come in, basically on the?
Yeah, that's right.
You're to the left. Yeah. I've seen it.
Oh, well, there you go. Well, that was me. That was me and Gemma and Kelly from Audley End, and then we've got, I say, Dean's Nursery. Roger was our landscaper. So it was lovely. And some of the girls from the shows team helped, because often they're involved in stuff, and then they want to be kept busy throughout the show. And so Mandy and Pauline helped us as well. And it was amazing. It was amazing. And I could see all the components coming together. And I've been lucky to judge show gardens and exhibits and stuff. With Kim. Yes, I remember Kim being there. I remember because she did her dahlia garden. Yeah,
you did. Yeah.
Yeah, it was just great. It was lovely because, yeah, it was all the sum of, it's weird, isn't it? The sum of the parts were all individually good, but when you put them together and you could feel it, you could see it coming together, it was brilliant. It was just such a nice thing to see that evolve into what we wanted it to be. Yeah, it was great.
I like how you keep saying, "Oh, it's lovely, it's lovely." Was there no stress? Because everybody else who I know who's done a garden of any sort have just been stressed to the hilt.
Do you know what I honestly think? Because I'd spoken to John and Terry, and because Gemma and Kelly were there helping as well. It wasn't just me, you know, and because Dean's had done such a good job of growing the plants, and then, you know, transporting them was a bit stressful because I had to put them all on Danish trolleys. I don't know, I was just riding a bit of a high because it was,
Wow.
you know, to be asked to do one and have a budget to do it, and then to go all these companies and they're giving you stuff, and I really wasn't that. I'm surprised because I'm quite a stressy person, and I wasn't that stressed, which was amazing. So I look back on it, you know, it was a very, I really can recommend it to anybody. Yeah.
How long did you have to put it together?
It was a 3-day, no, a 4-day build. No, God, what was it? 3-day build. 8 in the morning till 6 at night. You're allowed on site, and it was really peculiar because with all the end, because it's English heritage, you could not put any stakes or marks into the turf. Nothing. It was all floating above. It was sleepers, two kind of squares of sleepers, and then we put some fleece and some kind of like recontrol fabric on the grass, and you could not even knock a stake into that ground. You weren't allowed.
You're joking.
It was so weird, but
oh my goodness,
you know.
Because last year when we done Kim's at the NEC, I was hammering massive stakes into the ground to hold these the trees up. I was massive, you know, big, because it was so windy up when we was on the top of the hill.
Yeah,
and I was having to hammer these massive stakes 2 or 3 foot into the ground to try and hold the trees up. It was horrendous. And if they said you can't do it, I would have said you can't have any trees whatsoever.
they are the parameters you have to work in is really really interesting. I like it. I like the fact that they're very much more mindful of the environmental impact of your garden now.
Yeah.
So they really, you know, the RHS and the BBC are really pushing for things to be peat free. And if you do bring in anything like hardcore or any hard landscaping, you've got to show that you can repurpose it somewhere. You know, I like that about it. That was really reassuring that that's what they do.
Yeah.
So,
because there was years and years of show gardens just getting put into skips, wasn't there? And
and plants going to waste. Crazy, you know. That was something that we didn't need to worry about because the show guides now, the rules are that you can't do that. So
amazing. Oh, brilliant. I'm glad I got to saw it. As you were talking about it, I was thinking, I'm sure it is. I'm sure it was that one. Brilliant.
It was really good fun, the dressing of it all and everything like that, putting the mower on, because I say all the zones had a time frame to them. There were the three different areas, and you chose varieties of edibles that were only available to Victorian times or were really popular in the 60s, like, you know, like Gardener's Delight and Market More cucumbers and like Little Gem lettuce. They were all there. And then in the modern section, we had like all the blight resistant, all the little dwarf tomatoes and things like dwarf sunflowers, because they were never a thing back in the 60s and Victorian time. You know, it was all big, tall sunflowers.
Massive ones,
yeah. And like, you know, I put in some lemongrass and I put some agretti in and stuff that maybe, you know, you wouldn't maybe see in a 60s garden. It was, I really, you know, again, that was just it was just really fun.
Oh, brilliant.
So, yeah.
Lovely. I'm going to be searching through my photos. As soon as I press that X on there, I'm going right back into my photos.
You see, you very sunburnt me. I was so red.
It was a hot.
That was really.
It was a hot year.
It was a hot summer, wasn't it?
God,
really hot summer.
It really was.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we didn't get water at all on the first day when we were building, which was nuts. You know, and that's the kind of thing that you don't realise is happening behind the scenes. The water supply was just, the pressure wasn't enough, and the shows team had to reconfigure stuff, and it took a day. of
Wow.
just, what do you do? And then if your mulch doesn't get delivered in time, what people were finding last year, that their mulch was heating up too much and it was cooking the plants.
Yeah.
There's all this stuff going on that the public have no idea about.
Behind the scenes.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
I think that show is one of my favourites now. I've been the last 2 years, and it's nice that it's at the end of the year. It's like that's the last, and then it's like that's it now.
Yeah, it's lovely.
A really nice finale.
Yeah,
It's a chill out.
It's a nice setting, and it's like you say, it is a nice. The house is fantastic, isn't it? And all the lawns and the kitchen garden.
Kitchen garden.
Amazing.
Yeah,
absolutely fantastic. Really, really nice. Time's ticking on, and we haven't even mentioned a certain man with a beard. Not him, who's up there above us. You do a fantastic podcast.
Oh, bless you.
With a fantastic co-host, Saul.
Yes.
Tell us about that. I listen every week.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It's lovely. Do you know, we never ever anticipated that it would be listened to by many people. And also it's now like in its 6th year, and
that's unbelievable.
It's nuts. We just thought we'd maybe do, I don't know, 10 episodes and see how it went. And it's it was it came about because when I first started doing Gardener's World Live, which is the first BBC show I did, so we also do judging and assessing of all the exhibits. So that's another sort of like bit that we do before the show starts. And Saul was brought in as another judge assessor. So I was judging the edibles and the cut flowers and the herbs, and Saul was doing the tender plants and the shrubs and a few of the exotics. And they have these little kind of like meetings before the judging starts, where you just all get to know everybody. And Saul and I don't know how we just migrated towards each other. It must have been the beard. The aura of the beard must have just drawn me in. I got entangled in it all, and that was it. That was before I knew I was there. And we just got chatting. And then also Bob had put us side by side on the advice desk. So through that we were thrown together.
Yeah.
And there was times when we were answering questions, and then times when it was a bit quieter at the start and the end of the day. And we'd sit there, and for 2 or 3 years we sort of nattered, and you could see these celebrity gardeners coming on and going on to stages and stuff. And we were sort of sat there and we thought, I guess we should maybe think about doing something, but we couldn't think what.
Yeah.
And so for a few years we kind of got a little bit, not frustrated, but we were like, what can we do that suits us, that matches us? Because you can't, I always find that you've got to do the thing that suits you best, and then it's genuine, it's authentic, it's nice, isn't it? And because he was head gardener and I was head gardener at the time, then saw a podcasting course and did the course. That was it. That's how it happened. And he asked me, which was so lovely of him, if I, and we hadn't really thought about the formula, but the fact that he's in Devon, which is really wet and on clay, and I'm in Essex, which is so dry, and I'm on sand, and we get we get such little rainfall compared to him, and we get the beast from the east, whereas in Devon they just get, it's milder. And I think that's what makes it work. And also my voice and his voice we're so different, so that's it. And we can talk about our gardens without contradicting each other because they're different locations and different situations. And there you go. That is it. That's how it started.
Brilliant. And that's 6 years ago. So what, 300 episodes in?
Yeah.
Plus?
With the bonus ones, it's about 300 episodes, yeah. And as you can tell, we neither of us like talking. So it's lasted so long.
Well, Mark, we're about 72 or 73 in, aren't we? We've got a little bit of catching up to do.
Yeah.
Oh, you'll get it.
Number 73.
73.
But that's still a really good number.
It's getting there. There's not many people do it every single week, is there? That's the thing.
Yeah.
Most people
But
do
don't
it
you enjoy it?
fortnightly. Sorry?
Don't you enjoy it? It's a lovely thing
Love
to do,
it.
isn't it?
Absolutely love it.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
I look forward to it every single week. Really
Yeah.
do.
Yeah, Saul and I both felt that this is not being derogatory to our employers at all. But when we were, I say I'm not on the East Donland estate now, but we felt like we could really talk at depth to each other about what we were doing on the estates. Whereas Saul's owners are mostly in London, so he doesn't get to chat to them too much. And Peter and Sarah, they liked the garden, but they were busy folk, and we didn't, again, talk in depth about the garden. So Saul and I were just indulging our guilty pleasures of talking to each other about what we were doing. No one else gave the stuff, so and it turns out that people like that.
Lots
So
of
that was
people
lovely.
do.
Oh, it's
And
nice. It's nice.
you do have a guilty pleasure of biscuits as well. Does crop up now and again on the podcast.
Yeah, exactly. I have got custard creams in my biscuit tin as we speak. So, yeah, and Saul likes his hobnobs. And I like my list. I like pen and paper. Saul likes his spreadsheets. Oh, we take the mickey out of each other, something terrible, but, I quite
Brilliant.
like that.
Yeah, really good. So that's called
You need
Talking
to
Heads.
convince him.
Yeah, Talking Heads, and we publish it every Saturday. Yeah, and we take it in turns to edit it. So again, that's another skill I've learned. I do enjoy learning new stuff. I think most people do, have that hunger to learn new things. And we use Reaper, and the editing of it, I really enjoy it. It's almost like editing the magazine, but obviously with in audio. And you can craft stuff a little bit. We don't edit it heavily at all, but it's just like taking out, if we fluff something up, or I get brain fog these days. My God, it's awful. So I sometimes just completely forget what I'm saying, or get a name wrong or whatever. And Saul sometimes he's a swine for knocking his microphone when he doesn't mean to. He's got a squeaky chair, but nobody knows that because all those bits get taken out. So yeah, I love it. It's really good fun.
Oh, fantastic. Really, really good. Oh, I've loved this last hour and a half.
Blimey, it's been a while, hasn't it? Sorry,
I know,
I've
it's
talked.
5 to
It's like
9.
that.
It does fly by. That's the thing. When you're talking about stuff you love, it just disappears.
Yeah.
It really does.
Yeah.
It really does.
I think my fire's gone out now.
Mark's...
The dog's gone to sleep. I was going to try and get Lily to do a cameo, wasn't I?
You did say, yeah.
Lily. No, I'll tell you what, she's actually passed out. Lily,
Unlike
Don't
my
blame
dog
her.
that's constantly on the go.
come here. Come on. Oh, she can't. She's quite sleepy. But she does appear, if anyone does watch me on Instagram, I get the dog. Come here, darling.
I do see her at work sometimes.
I can just
Come meet Dash.
I think you can just come up here. Pupsy,
There's
pupsy.
Dash.
Come on. She's gone daft. She doesn't want to.
Come
Sorry.
on, then. While we're
Oh,
doing this,
Mark,
let me see if I can
that's
get the two gingers. Rambo!
This is Dash and
I'll get
Look
mugged now.
Look
Here
at
they
that
are.
face. Oh my Dash.
Here they
You're
come.
so handsome.
Come on in.
Come here.
Look, I get absolutely mugged when my two come in.
Oh. Oh. Oh, bless you. Look at us with our pups. Oh.
There's another one down there. Bramble and moss. But I can't let them be in here all the time because it'd just be absolute mayhem, won't it? Good boy.
Gardens, we love biscuits and cups of tea, and we all love our dogs.
Exactly.
dogs. Yeah,
Exactly.
definitely.
Yeah.
We've got loads of questions in the question
blimey.
box,
Oh,
so we should probably ask some of those.
Go for it.
yeah, I can't see him, sorry.
Have you got a favourite edible veg or flower, Lucy?
I think, honestly, at the minute, it's New Zealand spinach. I go through little phases. It was Agretti, then Malabar, and now my latest crush is New Zealand spinach. So it's amazing. Well, everyone grow it.
Right, that down.
The old piggery says, you've got to be a TV presenter, Lucy. You're just so great to listen to. I can see why the podcast is popular.
Bless you.
Ah.
That's very kind. Gosh, I'm gonna have a little buzz after this. It's lovely. So thank you.
And same person also asked, can you get the book on Amazon?
Yeah, you can. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And from other bookshops everywhere.
There you go. That's my marketing done. Oh yeah, no, it's not Orash. It's a different thing. Sorry, I saw that earlier. It's not, no, Orash is like mountain spinach. This is the thing. A lot of these edibles are called, their common name is spinach, but it's not.
Yeah.
I can't think of the Latin name. It might be Tetralobus. I can't remember. I could put it in the comments afterwards if you give me a little while.
Yeah.
So, but it's very good.
Joe at Norfolk Blue Jaws said, I want to add some dwarf cooking apples and plum trees containerized. Would you buy a spalier or standard shape?
For the apples, you could definitely do a spalier or a step over because they're really compact.
But they're lovely, aren't they?
Yeah, but for plums, I would definitely do a fan because plums, they crop in a slightly different way, so they don't lend themselves to a spaliers, but they are really good as a fan against like a nice sort of like sunny sheltered wall, especially for green gauges and stuff like that. Or a sweet, if you want like a sweet plum, fan train it against a sunny wall, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's all the questions in there. Other than, has anyone else got any more before we go to the next bit? Somebody in the comment said, who was your favourite contributor when you were editing the magazine?
Oh wow. Do you know, I'm going to say there's a lady called Sally Nex who's a really good garden writer, and she's written for Gardener's World a few times, and her writing style is really good, and she works for the RHS now and then as well. She's not like in the sense that she's not a massive celebrity name, maybe not a household name, but she just used to produce really good copy, and it was really tightly written. She didn't go over word count, and she knew her stuff, and it was all lively and engaging. So Sally Nex, and I think she's got a Substack. I'm trying to think of the name. I think it's called Greenery, I think. But she's really, honestly, she's worth looking up. Her writing's really engaging. And I have to, some of the celebrity writers, I'm not going to name any names, but you'd think they could, this sounds awful, doesn't it? This is an exclusive. You think they'd be able to write. Just leaving that there. Just going to leave that there.
I know exactly what you mean.
This podcast bombshell.
What was her surname? Lucy? Sally who?
Next. Sally Next. So N for Norman, E for Edward, X for X-ray. Sally Next.
Next.
Yeah, you know, and she's a lovely lady, so yeah.
Somebody else asked, have you thought about starting a YouTube channel?
Oh, bless you. Do you know what? I've dabbled with a few. If you really dig deep, you can find a few of my YouTube videos, because I have back in the past tried all sorts of stuff, but it's just the time, isn't it? I think everything these days is just the time, and I have less time than I used to because I've got a young family, and I'm also trying to be much more mindful of carving time for yourself, because it's way too easy to say yes to stuff like a show garden. And I just feel like at the moment maybe I just need a bit of time just to catch up with myself and just
you must have some extra time now this is finished though.
I say I'm doing more gardening. That's what I've really been missing, the gardening for people. I say today I was pruning apple trees, and it was, I don't know what it's been like with you weather-wise, but it's been so squally and windy, and I got rained on about 4 times. But I've got all my waterproofs on. I'm getting physically, fresh air. Sort of like all the elements on your face, exercise. I was on by an estuary where I live, and I was listening to the geese and the oyster catchers, and I was like, oh my God, this is incredible. And I think that's what I'm going to do more of.
Yeah,
because it's
lovely.
and it also keeps your skills up, doesn't it? So like one of the gardens I've taken on is got loads of topiary, and I haven't done much with topiary in my training or in my practical jobs. But the more you do, then when you go to another garden that's got topiary, you're like, oh yeah, right, I know how to do that, and I feel like I'm developing myself even more. So yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Jenny Wren asks, will you do your lives again in spring on Sunday mornings?
Oh, bless you, Jenny. Do you know, I haven't done. I deliberately stepped away from social media because last year I found with the book and the deadlines, it made me quite anxious. Deadline. That's the one thing I'd say about doing a book is it's a wonderful thing, but the deadlines. There's a lot of writing. The deadlines become relentless, and I was like, so I stepped away from all of that quite intentionally, and I don't choose to do those sorts of things lightly, but I just needed a bit of a space, but now I've done a couple of lives with you guys and with there's, do you know Lexi and Ruth?
Yeah.
So that's
Last week.
Yeah. So I did a lovely live, and I'm enjoying it so much. So Jenny, in answering to your question, I don't know.
We love an open answer.
Yeah, exactly. Oh dear. So, I can see Sean. Hello, Sean. Cameron, Sean James. He's asked me if there's another book coming out. No, there's not yet. No, thanks. I'm all right.
Give it a few years.
Yeah, maybe. Oh, yeah. It's just about
Any more,
enjoying
Mark?
what you do, isn't it?
No, that's all of them now.
Oh, wow.
It's not quite the end, though.
So we usually finish off with a lightning round.
Blimey, I don't know if my brain can cope. I'm
The
just doing
hardest part of
massage.
the whole night.
Right.
So the first one is tea or coffee.
Coffee.
Good choice. Next one, flowers or edibles.
Oh God. Do you know what? I'm going to be controversial now. For me, no, edibles. I can't do it. I can't even say
Nearly.
it's not true.
What? What?
Edibles for sure.
Beach or forest.
Oh, that's a nice one. Beach. Yeah.
Good choice.
No.
And in a text message, what's your go-to emoji?
I'm a terror for the thumbs
Thumbs
up.
up.
Oh my God. Yeah. I'm an absolute slime for that. Or maybe the one with the crazy eyes when it's all got a bit too much. I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
Either one of those is, you can measure my mental state at that time. So,
Lucian.
yeah.
If you could only have one snack for the rest of your life, what would it be?
A snack.
Custard creams.
It would, yeah. It would have to be, wouldn't it? Yeah, I love them. I'll never get tired of them.
Greens all the way.
Yeah.
You can't. Custard creams are a good biscuit.
Oh. But I tried the chocolate coated ones. No, don't do that. And I've tried rhubarb and custard. No.
Don't mess with it.
No, don't. Don't fiddle with
Plastic
these
for a
things.
reason.
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
Finish the sentence. My perfect day would be.
Gardening. Literally, I'm so sorry. I'm going to be very predictable there, but it would just be gardening. So it's good for you. It's so good for your soul, isn't it?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sowing seeds or potting on?
Oh, sowing seeds. Love it. I love sowing seeds.
No.
I went through
No
I heard
there.
James saying he was going through his seeds the other day. I've gone through mine.
It's got so many. It's ridiculous.
Oh, it's crazy.
I know.
Yeah, I've got I totaled up the amount of varieties. It's 256 varieties of edibles.
Yeah.
What?
I'm not going to be far off that.
No,
It's
like an addiction.
You do a spreadsheet or anything?
No.
No.
I've written it all out. Saul will do a spreadsheet. Of course he will. But no, mine's all
Pen and
handwritten out in my
paper.
little notebook.
Pen and paper.
Spring or summer?
What was that one, Mark? Sorry?
Spring or summer?
Say it again.
Spring or summer?
Oh, sorry. I'm so sorry.
Sorry.
Oh, definitely spring. Definitely spring. Lovely spring.
That's that Lincolnshire accent.
And full of cold, getting worse by the minute.
Sorry.
Today's favourite plant?
Today's favourite plant.
Yeah.
Broad beans, actually. I sowed a whole load of early broad beans. I love them. Absolutely love broad beans. Because you know, you can't beat them homegrown. So
They're amazing. And
yeah.
when it's nice in the summer, we're normally outside, and I'll do this out in the plot. And I've got a scaffold board I put between my raised beds. And this one particular time I sat there, and my broad beans are right next to me. And I was just with one hand plucking them and eating them straight off the plant. Absolutely amazing.
Yeah. Have you
Beautiful.
done the pate, like the mint and lemon and the garlic pate? You know when they go older and you get the leathery outer skins, and
Yeah.
you've missed that little window, and you always miss a few. Yeah. So if you blanch them and get the outer skins off, and then blitz them with, say, garlic, lemon juice, mint, and olive oil. Oh, wow!
Lovely.
Like with some plain tortillas or some like.
It's like a broad bean hummus.
Yeah, it's incredible. It's lovely. That is really good.
Need to
Yeah.
try that one.
There you go.
Cooking tips as well.
Next one is unlimited compost or unlimited seeds. It sounds like you've already got the unlimited seeds. So
I know. That's the thing, isn't it? I couldn't. Yes, no, it'd have to be the seeds because I can. Yeah, I can get around the compost issue.
yeah,
Make your
Yeah,
own.
exactly.
If you could choose one plant to describe yourself, what would it be?
Blimey. Oh, my brain's too mush now to do anything clever. Something like. Oh, here we go. Yeah. So some summer purslane, which is again another really good edible, because it's quite unassuming to look at, and it's you can it can blend into the background, but if you get your teeth into it, it can be really quite juicy and quite delicious. There you go.
Brilliant answer.
You can take that however you like. I don't mind.
So well.
Final one. If you could have a gardening superpower, what would it be?
To revive anything that's on the wane, because don't you get funky if you see something that's like, because I've got a frame in my greenhouse at the minute, and I've got loads of salvia and plectranthus cuttings because I'm trying to get up my tropicals game, and it's worked really well, but the botrytis has got in, and there's also a damn slug or snail or something in there that's like every night it's just having a meal, having another meal. So if I could just turn back time, like Superman went round and round the planet and turned it backwards.
Yeah.
The car came out with a big crack in the earthquake. If I could do that, but for plants, like E.T., how he revived the sunflower. That'd be cool. Wouldn't that be great?
It would be good, yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Love that.
Brilliant. Brilliant. Absolutely fantastic.
Thank you ever so much.
Yeah, Lucy, thank you. I've had a fantastic hour and a half or more now. Brilliant.
Sorry.
No, don't apologise. So, everybody should go out and buy this because, like I said, it's the best gardening book I've got on my bookshelf now. And I dare say it's going to look in the next several weeks really dog-eared and ruined, but that's what a book should look like, I think.
Definitely, especially a gardening book.
Yeah.
Some mud on it.
No, thank you both so much for taking all this time to speak to me. It's so indulgent sitting here talking about yourself and what you love doing. It's a real, it's a real treat for me. So thank you very, very much indeed. I've so enjoyed it.
Thank you. Thank you. It's been a treat for us as well. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
Lovely.
Lucy.
And
Thanks, Lucy. We'll see you soon.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye. Done.
There we go.
Fantastic. Really, really good. Yeah, just again, if anybody's still watching, go and buy Lucy's book, Grow Food Anywhere. It's really, really good. Absolutely amazing. It's going to be my Bible now.
Definitely is. It's definitely going to be the one I refer back to all year. And hopefully helps me get my veg garden back to its former glory.
Sure it will. Sure it will. You definitely sound like you're getting snotty by the minute.
To be honest, I'm amazed I've made it through the whole podcast without sneezing, because before it I must have sneezed about 20 times in a row. It was just like, God,
Really?
how am I going to get through an hour and a half without sneezing? I've held it together well.
You're going to press that cross and just go hell for leather.
I'm just going to go collapse in a pile on the sofa, I think.
I bet you
After
are,
the last
mate. I don't blame you.
couple of days.
I don't blame you. Go and get your head down and chill out.
Yeah. Lovely to speak to everybody, and
Yeah,
lovely to see
really
you all.
great.
We'll see you
And
next week.
see you next Tuesday. See you later. Thanks, Mark. See you later.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to Through the Garden Gate.